There is a strange kind of exhaustion, not because you do too much, but because you have lived for too long inside a life that isn't truly yours. You wake up, fulfill your duties, maintain an image, try to seem okay, try to do what is right. And then one day, you look into the mirror and you're no longer sure. Is the person in there really you, or a version assembled from other people's eyes? Nietzsche does not come to soothe you with promises of peace. He comes to tear up the ground you've been standing on. Because what is binding you may not be failure, but an invisible cage called being accepted. Maybe you've been chasing rewards instead of chasing growth. And if you're thinking, I still don't know what I was born to do, then listen closely. Sometimes you can't find your real self because you haven't been brave enough to create it. Stay until the end. In this video, you'll see why Nietzsche says happiness is only a side effect, why suffering isn't a curse but raw material, and why one final question might make it impossible for you to keep living the way you used to. Number 1. Redefining power. Many people hear the word power and immediately think of social power, titles, money, the ability to make others obey. You used to think that too, and you used to envy it too. You see someone walk into a room and be respected everywhere, and you believe that person is strong. But Nietzsche watches that scene with eyes cold as steel. He asks a question few dare to ask. If someone needs others to bow just to feel upright, is that person truly strong or merely covering a crack? When Nietzsche speaks of the will to power, he does not praise domination like a tyrant's. He dissects it like a symptom. Someone obsessed with controlling others often cannot control themselves. Someone addicted to feeling above is often running from an inner sense of inferiority. That person does not live by strength. That person lives on a painkiller called power. You can meet this kind of power in a company where a capable manager uses fear to control employees and calls it discipline. You can meet it in a family where a father uses morality to silence his children and calls it teaching. You can meet it inside yourself when you try to control the person you love so you can worry less, and you call it care. Nietzsche does not blame you first, because he knows the human psyche is not simply evil. He merely lifts the rug and points to what crawls beneath: fear. The more someone needs control, the more they fear loss. The more someone needs to defeat others, the more they have not yet defeated themselves. So what is power, according to Nietzsche? Nietzsche redefines power with the line, "What is happiness?" The feeling that power is increasing, that resistance has been overcome. Power is a kind of more life inside you, meaning your capacity grows, your endurance thickens, your vision sharpens, and your ability to create value becomes stronger. You don't need anyone's approval to know you are growing. You know it through one concrete sign. You can do what your former self could not. An athlete lifts a weight that made their hands shake just a month ago. Someone who once panicked during presentations now stands before a crowd and keeps their rhythm calm. Someone who once lived by lies now dares to speak one honest sentence and accepts the price. Nietzsche sees those moments as a pure form of power, because that power is not borrowed from anyone's gaze. Nietzsche does not tell you to become kind in the weak sense, and he does not tell you to become aggressive. Nietzsche wants you to become a form of life that can strengthen itself. The philosopher Spinoza spoke of conatus, the natural tendency of everything to preserve and increase its own existence. Nietzsche goes further and says that life does not merely want to exist, it wants to rise, to expand, to test itself, to surpass its limits. When you understand this, you see that power in Nietzsche is not a status game, but the evolutionary game of the soul. Nietzsche also wants you to see through a familiar moral trap. Many traditional moral systems praise humility, selflessness, forbearance, and they often turn these qualities into absolute duties. Nietzsche does not deny that you can be kind. He questions the motive. He asks, are you kind because you have abundant energy and you give from overflow? Or are you kind because you fear being hated and you flatter life? Do you endure because you have the strength to regulate your reactions, or do you endure because you do not dare to resist? Nietzsche calls the morality that turns weakness into virtue a slave morality, because it makes people proud of helplessness. When you live inside that trap, you will mistake power for something evil, and you will cut off the living force inside you that wants to grow. You will feel guilty when you want excellence. You will feel selfish when you want to focus on your goal. You will feel greedy when you want to rise. Nietzsche does not hand you candy to keep you comfortable. Nietzsche takes the metal collar off your neck and makes you look clearly. If you fear your own strength, you will live the life someone else writes for you. You will understand Nietzsche's power most clearly when you look at moments where people cannot pretend. A social media addict can build an image of total control, yet lose sleep over one critical comment. Someone who likes ordering everyone around can look like a leader, yet collapse when forced to sit alone and face emptiness. Nietzsche calls maturity the moment you can endure the truth about yourself, and you no longer need the crowd as anesthesia. When you begin building inner power, you notice a strange change. You lose interest in winning petty games. You no longer need others to lose so you can feel superior. You redirect that energy into raising your own standards, and you become harder to buy. Nietzsche does not romanticize suffering, but he strips suffering of the label meaningless. He turns it into a sign that you are touching an old boundary. When you understand power this way, you stop asking, how do I get others to recognize me? And you start asking, how do I become someone I respect, even when no one is watching? The second question is the true door to freedom. And here is the secret point most viewers miss. Nietzsche does not want you to become ruthless toward the world. Nietzsche wants you to stop being ruthless toward your own potential. Someone who wastes life in false safety, in borrowed morality, is betraying a living source inside. Nietzsche calls life something that must always overcome itself, and power is loyalty to that nature. When you redefine power like this, you stop being afraid of it. You begin to crave a kind of power that makes you higher, brighter, more real. You begin to understand why so many people who have everything still feel empty, because they have external power but no power over themselves. You begin to understand why an unknown person can still carry presence, because that person lives by inner power and does not need the crowd's permission to exist. When you begin to crave power as loyalty to life itself, you touch Nietzsche's real aim, not to accumulate more outside you, but to raise your entire life to a higher level, where you live more intensely, more sharply, and more truthfully as yourself. Number 2. Becoming the person you were born to be means raising life to a higher level. Nietzsche does not see the human being as a machine that needs to run longer. He sees the human being as a flame that needs to burn higher. He writes in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "Man is something that is to be surpassed. You can live to 90 and still live at a low level because each day is only a faint copy of the day before. You can also live fewer years, yet live like a flash, because in each stage you raise your life one step higher, sharper, deeper. Nietzsche does not advise you to go more places or try more things just to feel like you are living. He doubts the trivial experiences people collect like stamps because they only thicken your life on the surface without lifting it in depth. You can check in everywhere, meet countless people, take countless courses, read countless books, and still feel hollow because your life has never been upgraded. Nietzsche would ask bluntly, has your life become stronger, more refined, more self-directed, or are you simply busy so you don't have to hear your own voice? When Nietzsche says, become who you were born to be, he is not talking about finding a perfect self that already exists somewhere, waiting for you to retrieve it like a lost object. You do not find yourself like you rummage through a pocket, because the self is not a thing. You forge yourself like you forge a blade, through fire, through hammer blows, through cold water, through grinding, through bends that must be corrected. Nietzsche wants you to see yourself that way. If you live as though you are waiting for a beautiful day when everything will become clear, you are placing your life in the hands of procrastination. Nietzsche does not grant you that luxury. He says life is something that must always overcome itself, and you only become you when you dare to place yourself inside the process of forging. A high-level life, for Nietzsche, is not a life without pain, without mistakes, without loss. A high-level life is a life with standards. Someone living at a low level often carries an unspoken standard that sounds harmless. As long as it's okay, as long as no one dislikes me, as long as I'm not judged. Someone living at a higher level carries a different unspoken standard. Every year I must become freer, more truthful. When you change the standard, everything changes. You begin to see that many normal things around you are actually erosion that has been legalized. You begin to see that a stable job can be a golden cage if it slowly kills your creativity. You begin to see that a peaceful relationship can be a tight shirt if it forces you to shrink your soul. Nietzsche does not tell you to destroy everything. He only tells you not to confuse comfortable with right. He tells you to know the price of comfort, because long comfort is often the price of living low. Nietzsche calls the majority the herd, not to insult them, but to describe a very real psychological mechanism. You can feel relieved when you are like everyone else, because you do not have to bear responsibility for being different. But Nietzsche says, if you want to become yourself, you must take responsibility for your own path, and responsibility always comes with loneliness. If you allow yourself a little honesty, what do you think you are staying busy to avoid facing most? A decision, a fear, or a forgotten dream? You don't need to write much. Just leave 1 to 2 sentences in the comments as a gentle reminder to yourself so tomorrow does not pass exactly like today. Nietzsche understands that you cannot think yourself into a new person. You must train yourself into one. You must enter the zone where you are clumsy. You must tolerate the feeling of not being enough. You must accept the awkwardness and the slowness, because those are signs of growth. You no longer ask, who do people want me to be? You ask, who do I want to become, and do I dare to pay the price? That is the moment you touch freedom. And freedom for Nietzsche is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is having the strength to do what is hard without breaking. You will recognize a high-level life through a mysterious but real sign. Everything begins to feel weighty. You no longer spend money, time, or energy the way you used to, because you know every choice is a vote for the person you are becoming. You begin to see social media as a noisy rain, and you learn to close the window to hear your own voice. You begin to see praise and blame as weather, because you understand weather does not define the climate of your life. You begin to live like an artist of your own life, and an artist does not trade quality for quantity. You begin to understand that living aesthetically is not looking good in photos. Living aesthetically is living beautifully in structure, meaning your life has lines, discipline, rhythm, depth. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard spoke of despair as a state of not wanting to be oneself, or wanting to be another self and being unable. Nietzsche sees a similar form of despair, but he does not stop at description. He offers a path. You become yourself by upgrading the power of life, and you upgrade that power by forging yourself through resistance. You do not run from suffering with numbing doses. You learn to turn suffering into material. You do not seek salvation in another world. You create meaning in this world through the act of raising yourself. So, becoming the person you were born to be is not a motivational phrase meant to warm you up and put you back to sleep. It is a sentence, and it is also a gift. A sentence because you cannot keep pretending forever without paying a price. A gift because you are not locked inside your current version. You will live more intensely, more sharply, with more height, because you no longer live as a life that is consumed. You live as a life that is created. When you understand this, you will see a truth that is both frightening and clarifying. You are not predetermined to become anyone. You are born with a possibility, and you only become that person if you dare to step into the fire. Number 3. Step 1. Choose a Nietzsche-style goal. From the moment you realize my life is living low, you immediately run into Nietzsche's hardest question. What will you climb with if you don't choose a mountain peak high enough to force your legs to grow strong? Many people want to change, but they choose goals the way they choose a thin blanket, because that goal is only enough to make them feel comfortable, not enough to transform them. Nietzsche does not believe in vague, getting better, because vague improvement is often just a polite name for procrastination. Nietzsche wants you to choose a goal that can become a forge. When you choose the wrong goal, you can stay busy for years and still fail to increase your inner power. When you choose the right goal, you will feel life begin to lift you up, because that goal makes it impossible for you to keep being the old version of yourself. Nietzsche once said, in a spirit both ruthless and liberating, don't ask, what does humanity need from you? Ask, why are you here? And if you don't yet have an answer, you must set for yourself goals that are high and noble. Noble here does not mean fancy. It means a goal that refuses to let the weakness in you take the throne. Nietzsche once spoke of the formula for happiness. The formula of our happiness: a yay, a nay, a straight line, a goal. You can use 4 criteria like 4 doors. The first door demands that your goal must be meaningful and sufficiently challenging. A truly Nietzschean goal should make you slightly tremble when you think of it, because it touches a limit. You need a goal that makes you feel small, because that feeling is a sign you are standing before something that can raise you. You also need a goal that is truly meaningful to you, because your body will not endure pain for an unworthy reason. A meaningful goal will wake you with attention that feels deserved, while a meaningless goal will wake you with a cheap kind of exhaustion. The second door demands that your goal must nourish health and flourishing, at least your own, and ideally also the people you touch. Nietzsche does not worship a kind of success that exhausts you and turns you into a smiling corpse. Nietzsche treats health as the ground beneath every summit, and he regards great health as a new morality of the strong. You can make a lot of money from a job that keeps you sleepless for years, but you will understand it is a foolish price if you have to rely on sleeping pills to enjoy the result. A Nietzschean goal will make you healthier in the broad sense, your body steadier, your mind clearer, your capacity to withstand pressure thicker. When you look at a goal, ask, does this goal make my life expand or shrink? Does it make me brighten or fade? If the goal wears you down little by little and you call it effort, you are disguising self-destruction. The third door demands that your goal must lead you toward personal excellence, meaning it must force you to raise your standards of ability and character. Nietzsche does not want you to become well-behaved. Nietzsche wants you to become good in a frightening sense. Good enough that you cannot return to an easy, sloppy life without feeling contempt for yourself. A goal that leads to excellence does not have to look grand in the eyes of the world, but it must require you to train a real capacity. Personal excellence also means forging character, because character is a mental skill. A person who forges the virtue of honesty will have to cut away bad habits that no longer serve them. The fourth door demands that your goal must be autonomous, meaning it must carry your fingerprints, not be a copy of someone else's dream. You can study a field because your family thinks it is stable. You can do a job because society says it has a future. You can chase a title to prove you are not behind anyone, but your heart will resist with a deep, heavy kind of fatigue. Nietzsche calls that the life in you being forced to act a role. You can recognize an autonomous goal when you still want to do it, even if no one knows, no one praises you, and no one credits you. A person who learns piano to post clips will quit when the clips get fewer likes. But a person who learns piano because they want to hear real music from their own hands will practice in silence for months. When you place the four criteria side by side, you will see through something that wakes people up. Most of the goals humans pursue are not goals, but sleeping pills. If you choose a truly Nietzschean goal, you will hear life change its tone. You will enter a journey where each day you are not merely completing tasks, you are becoming someone else. You will see you do not need to find yourself like picking up a lost object, because you are creating yourself like forging a blade. And each hammer blow you strike against an old habit rings out with a sound only the truly alive can hear. And so that goal does not remain only on paper. You must turn it into daily action. No matter how good a goal is, it becomes meaningless if you think about it only when you feel inspired, because people change only when they act consistently. That is why Nietzsche's next step is crystal clear: daily discipline. Number 4, step 2. Daily discipline. Nietzsche does not believe in awakening that sits on the lips. He believes in transformation that lives in habits. Daily discipline is when you wake up and devote a fixed block of time to your goal, and you are telling life that you are no longer someone who asks permission from emotion. You are shifting control from "I do it when I feel like it" to "I do it because I chose it." Nietzsche calls that the quality of the strong, because the strong are not dragged around by the winds inside them. A person who wants to write a book is often killed by a very reasonable sentence: "I don't have time." Nietzsche would tell you to look deeper. You are not lacking time in an absolute sense. You are lacking an order of priorities. You have time to scroll, to reply on autopilot, to consume things that numb you, and you call that rest. You also have time to chase cheap busyness in order to avoid what matters, and you call that responsibility. Daily discipline does not demand that you do a lot. It demands that you do it consistently, because consistency is the only way to accumulate inner power. 45 minutes each morning to write, an hour each night to practice a skill, 3 sessions a week to train the body. Those small acts are like coins dropped into a safe. At first you hear only a tiny clink, but after a few months the safe becomes heavier and you begin to walk with a new weight. You can imagine discipline as signing a pact with your future. Each day you show up on time for your goal. You send a signal to your nervous system that says, "I am reliable." Psychology calls this building identity through behavior, because people do not change through vows. People change when they repeatedly do things that match a new identity. Nietzsche would say it more sharply: you become what you repeat. When you repeat avoidance, you become an avoider. When you repeat courage, you become courageous. When you repeat focus, you become focused. Daily discipline is a press that shapes the soul, and that press is not loud, but it does not tolerate pretense. You will also discover a secret that those who wait for inspiration never learn. Inspiration is not something that comes before action. Inspiration often comes after you have begun. Discipline does not kill freedom. Discipline creates freedom, because true freedom is the ability to do what you chose, even when you do not feel like it. A person without discipline thinks they are free, but they are driven by moods, cravings, laziness, fear, and they are a slave with an invisible chain. When you practice daily discipline, you begin to live like someone with a private vow. Nietzsche calls that the nobility of the spirit, because a noble spirit does not live by consensus. A noble spirit lives by inner standards. And when those standards are forged every day, you not only move closer to your goal, you also move closer to yourself, the version you once only dared to imagine in long nights. From here on, precisely when you begin to go steadily like that, life will not leave you alone. It will test whether your vow is real by throwing obstacles in your way at the most inconvenient moments. Thank you for staying with me to this point, because if you are still here, it says something very real. You are not watching just to kill time. You are looking for a different way to live. We have come close to the end of this journey. And if you want to go all the way to understand why resistance is the fuel of the will to power, and why real joy is not found at the finish line, but in the cycle of growth, stay until the end. And if this content truly touches you, please like or hit subscribe like a silent nod, so I know you want to keep digging deeper into this path together in the next videos. Number 5. Obstacles are the fuel of the will to power. You will always meet a moment when discipline is put to the flame. You sit down to work, and your mind suddenly feels heavy as stone. You step outside to run, and your legs suddenly resist as if they want to drag you back to bed. You open your materials to learn a new skill, and the foolish fear, "I'm so bad," appears like a familiar ghost. Many people look at that moment and conclude, "This is a sign. I'm not meant for this." You will also run into very real things: unexpected work, declining health, strained relationships, tight money, other people's criticism whenever you try to change yourself. Nietzsche does not call these bad luck. Nietzsche calls them resistance. And resistance is where the will to power begins to breathe. When Nietzsche says the will to power can only reveal itself in the face of resistance, he is not speaking like someone offering encouragement. He is speaking like someone stating a biological law of life. Life does not grow in emptiness. Life grows when it presses against a wall, and the wall does not move. Nietzsche wrote in Twilight of the Idols, "From the military school of life, that which does not kill me makes me stronger." Someone who understands Nietzsche correctly will treat obstacles as fuel. You can see this most clearly in the body. A muscle does not grow stronger when it lies still. It grows stronger when it meets a load, suffers tiny tears, then recovers and thickens. A mind does not become sharp when it only consumes easy-to-swallow information. It becomes sharp when it is forced to analyze what is hard, forced to endure ambiguity, forced to correct mistakes. Character is not formed when life pampers you. Character is formed when you fail and still do not quit, when you are misunderstood and still do not betray yourself, when you are rejected and still keep creating. Nietzsche does not love suffering in a romantic way, but he understands something cold. If you erase all resistance, you erase the possibility of growth as well. Nietzsche also peels back a psychological layer people often hide. When you say, "I hate obstacles," sometimes you do not hate obstacles. You hate the feeling of being exposed. Obstacles expose your real weaknesses. A deadline exposes procrastination. A hard exercise exposes a lack of foundation. A direct conversation exposes cowardice. That is why so many people do not run from obstacles because they hurt. They run because obstacles reveal a truth they do not want to see. They build stories to ease the shame. "I'm busy. I'm not ready. I need more time. I'm waiting for the right moment." Nietzsche calls that kind of self-defense the sophistication of the weak. When you want to learn public speaking, life will gift you one failed talk, and your face will burn like fire. When you want to build a training habit, life will gift you one exhausted week, and you will watch motivation vanish like a joke. When you want to make money through real skill, life will gift you a few months where no one buys, and you will feel your ego shrink. Nietzsche tells you not to treat that as a sign to stop, because that is the doorway. People do not rise when everything goes smoothly. People rise when everything pushes back. Psychology calls an optimal zone for growth the zone of just enough challenge, because the brain changes most powerfully when you work at the edge of difficulty, where you must strain, yet can still improve. If the challenge is too easy, the brain does not need to change. If the challenge is too heavy, the brain triggers avoidance. Nietzsche did not write a neuroscience textbook, but he understood the intuition. The will to power seeks resistance, the way lungs seek air. When you learn to choose obstacles at the right level, you begin living like someone designing a gym for the spirit. You do not smash your head into meaningless suffering, but you also do not run from useful suffering. You choose the resistances that make you stronger, and then you step into them each day with a new attitude. You treat fear like a bell, announcing that you are standing before a new threshold, and you treat discomfort like a sign of expansion. Each time you overcome a force pushing against you, you not only move one step forward, you also gain a certain weight inside, a weight that makes you harder to shake, harder to manipulate, harder to buy. You begin to understand why many people born with every advantage still remain weak, because they live in an environment that is too soft, so their spirit never gets the chance to build muscle. You also begin to understand why some people walk through storms with brighter eyes, because they have learned to burn obstacles into fuel. Nietzsche does not promise you will hurt less. Nietzsche promises something more frightening and also more beautiful. If you know how to use resistance, you will become the kind of person whom even pain cannot humiliate, because pain is only the sound of metal being forged into shape. Number 6. Living without a final goal. Once you understand obstacles as fuel, you step into a truth even more uncomfortable, a truth Nietzsche does not hide. Life has no final door you pass through and then remain at peace forever. Many people live as if they are waiting for the day they are done with everything, done with work, done with debt, done with worry, and only then will they begin to live. Nietzsche sees that waiting as a form of self-hypnosis. He calls the path of the strong a game of victory, in which you overcome one obstacle and immediately another obstacle appears. And that chain of overcoming is precisely what a higher life looks like. You can see this game of victory as a cycle. You choose a goal, you meet resistance, you overcome it, you increase inner power, you get what you want, and then you face a very dangerous moment. The dangerous moment is not when you fail. The dangerous moment is when you succeed. Success is like a velvet chair placed in the middle of the road, and that chair whispers, "Sit down, you deserve it." Many people sit down and call that happiness, but their bodies begin to wither from that instant, because their souls stop growing. Nietzsche does not tell you to hate success. Nietzsche tells you not to become a slave to success. He says, there is one thing the seeker of power must learn. That person must know how to leave behind what they have achieved, even leave behind what they love. Not because they despise it, but because it is no longer high enough to pull them upward. Nietzsche said in this spirit that, "What I create, even if I love it, I must surpass it." You can see this in people who are truly great. An athlete hits a personal record and still returns to the gym as if nothing happened, because they know the body will quickly fall back to the old level if they fall asleep in victory. Someone who has just climbed out of a crisis still keeps forging discipline, because they understand that crisis only changes shape when you rise to a new level. Nietzsche does not see these examples as greed, the way people often describe them. He sees them as life lifting itself. When you understand that, you will stop mistaking permanent stability as life's reward, because permanent stability is often just a pretty name for stagnation. And here is the point that makes many people hear Nietzsche, yet still not truly absorb him. That cycle is not only a chain of ascetic labor, that cycle has its own joy, a joy so deep that it makes cheap pleasures taste thin. Nietzsche says, happiness is not something to be hunted. Happiness is a symptom of power increasing. When you overcome resistance, your body may be tired, but inside you, there will be a strange feeling, like a door has just opened in your chest. You feel joy because you have just witnessed living proof that you are no longer controlled by your old weakness. This joy is not loud like applause. It is like a small but steady flame, because it comes from self-respect. People may not know what you defeated, but you know. You know you defeated procrastination, defeated fear, defeated the habit of quitting when things get hard, and that very fact, I know, creates a secret kind of exhilaration. Nietzsche calls that joy the joy of overcoming, and it makes you addicted in a higher way because you begin to crave the feeling of growing. The joy of the growth cycle is also what saves you from nihilism. When you live only to wait for a destination, you will always risk collapsing into emptiness right after you arrive, because every destination soon becomes the new normal. Nietzsche offers an escape. You turn joy into the joy of the cycle, not the joy of a single victorious moment. You begin to savor the process the way an artist savors brush strokes, because each day you forge yourself, you can feel that you have more life. You begin to understand why some people work hard, yet their eyes still shine, because they do not work only to live. They work to become. The game of victory also tears off the mask of something extremely common, the habit of identifying yourself with achievement. You say, "I am a successful person," and then you begin to fear losing that image. You say, "I am a good person," and then you begin to fear doing anything that violates the herd's standards. Nietzsche wants you to separate yourself from labels. When you separate, you allow yourself to keep changing. You allow yourself to become a student again. You can imagine this game like climbing a mountain range in the mist. Each time you reach a peak, the mist clears, and you see another peak higher in the distance. If you love the old peak too much, you will pitch a tent there and call it life. But the cold wind will come, and you will slowly become a storyteller of the past. If you understand Nietzsche, you will thank the old peak by surpassing it. And when you truly step into the game of victory, you will feel a strange kind of freedom. You no longer panic when life throws a new problem at you. You begin to see problems as invitations to upgrade. You also no longer stay drunk on victory for long, because you no longer need victory to prove your worth. You win to increase your strength, and as strength increases, you want another challenge so that strength can keep growing. This game has no finish line, but it has a reward that is utterly real. You feel you are living in the right direction, because each cycle pulls you away from your old self. Nietzsche calls that the joy of overcoming, and that joy is not loud, but it makes you unwilling to return to a low life again. By now, perhaps you understand why Nietzsche does not promise you an easy life. He promises only something harder, but more real. A life where you no longer have to ask permission to exist. When you begin to raise your life, you no longer need loud evidence to believe you are on the right path, because the way you rise after each fall has become the evidence. You will realize that freedom does not arrive when the world changes its attitude toward you. Freedom arrives when you no longer need the world to authorize your life, and then you no longer live to be accepted. You live to be worthy of yourself. If you want to try it right now, choose one small but difficult thing you have avoided for a long time, and do it today as if it were a vow. The moment you dare to begin, a new person in you has begun to breathe.